2 weeks. Last week we had to provide you coverage of the budget debate and the presentation, and before that we were inconvenienced technically somewhat and could not be on the air. So we are certainly happy to be back this evening to discuss yet another important issue. Now, I'm referring there to the unfortunate tragic accident which occurred on a Saturday evening at Shock, which claimed two young precious lives, that of an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old, both females attending the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. One of those issues that would cause us to pause and to reflect on our actions, and also an opportunity for us to commiserate with the relatives of the two individuals who perished. We hope that during the course of this evening's program, you, the viewers, can get to be educated on a range of issues, in particular relating to safety on our roads with regard to the speed limits, among other issues. So please stay with us for that between now and 10 o'clock, at which time we'll be concluding with the clip that peaked. We have a report now from DBS's Sheffield Gillard. This report was filed during the broadcast last evening in the aftermath, once again, of that tragic incident which occurred over the weekend.
Students and teachers at the Tertiary Learning Institution have been left devastated by the sudden and tragic death on the weekend of much-loved Zena Anthony and Zane Williams.
The incident involved a motorcar registration number PA515, which was traveling southbound towards Castries, and a motor lorry registration number TK915 traversing northbound towards Groseley.
The truck overturned on its right side with its driver and one passenger still on board, while the Nissan Almera was launched on the side of the road as a result of the impact.
There were two individuals on the truck at the time of the incident. Both sustained minor injuries and were conveyed to the Victoria Hospital, where they received treatment and were subsequently discharged. Zane Bianca Williams, an 18-year-old resident of Masqué Ancillary, a passenger on the motorcar, sustained severe injuries and was pronounced dead on the scene by a medical practitioner. Zena Omega Anthony, a 19-year-old resident of Cicero Castries, who was also a passenger on the motorcar, sustained severe injuries and was conveyed to the Victoria Hospital by ambulance, where she subsequently succumbed to injuries sustained. The driver of PA515, that's the motorcar, sustained severe injuries as well and is currently admitted at the Victoria Hospital in stable condition.
Anthony and Williams were on their second year at the college and were very involved in sports and other school activities and would have been writing their CAPE exams today. Their presence was surely missed today, as a pin drop could have been heard on campus as fellow students and teachers tried to process what has happened. SALCC officials have confirmed that counseling services have been provided to faculty, students and parents. The sudden death of the young ladies has left their classmates distraught. The two deaths brings to 7 the number of road fatalities for 2017. For the DBS News World, I am Sheffield Gillard.
Thank you very much, Sheffield, for this report, which was filed last evening during the DBS News World, and was also spare a thought for the driver of the vehicle that was involved in that fatal crash. My guests this evening, they are from the Traffic Department of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, Acting Corporal Miguel Lansico and the Constable Ron Chico. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Acting Corporal, what can you tell me with regard to the latest pertaining to that accident which occurred over the weekend?
Well, police officers responded to an accident on the Shock Highway near Salmons Park involving a motor truck and a motor car. The accident was a very horrific crash involving several injuries and 2 fatalities.
With regard to the investigations, any new information to share with us?
Well, the investigation is at its earlier stage. We're just compiling statements, speaking to witnesses who may have seen what happened. And the investigation is now at the stage where we're just compiling information, trying to get everything as to the circumstances as to how it occurred.
Officer, how difficult do you think it's normally is during incidents of that nature to collect the information, considering, for example, that people would have witnessed, as the officer said, a horrific incident? They certainly would be in a state of shock. Do you allow a certain period to elapse before you start speaking with the eyewitnesses?
No, we try our best to record information as soon as practical, as soon as possible. Majority of times, persons are always willing to come forward to give us information as it relates to what they may have seen at the time of the accident. And we always urge persons, when you are witness to incidents of that sort, it's always a good thing to come and give the police some assistance, because with the witness statements, we are better able to make a determination as to what may have caused the accident.
What about in instances where you do not have any independent eyewitnesses available to provide you with information that would help you during the course of your investigation, where you're dealing primarily sometimes with people who are in the respective vehicles who might be injured?
Well, every accident scene, you have physical evidence. So in the absence of independent witnesses, sometimes the evidence present on the scene, the damage to the vehicles, the position of the vehicles, who after the impact, maybe tire impressions, debris, these things, we use these things and we compile it together to make a determination as to the cause of the accident, and also take in consideration the statements given by the drivers themselves, because they themselves would give you an account as to what may have transpired or what transpired.
Does it make a difference whether it's in the morning, noon, or evening, or in any period of time when an accident of that nature occurs?
Well, given the time of the accident, you would agree that that's a time when you may find a lot of vehicles traversing that area of the highway, and we appealing to anyone who may have witnessed that accident to come forward, give us the information to assist us in our investigation.
In terms of the figures that you would have collated along, the last few weeks and months and so on, can you tell us the cause of most of our crashes and collisions on our roads in St. Lucia?
Well, speaking from experience, I've been investigating accidents for the past 11 years. And generally, you can see one of the main causes of crashes has to do with driver error. That can be overtaking injudiciously, emerging from a minor road onto a major road, being distracted whilst driving, mechanical failure. Speeding, okay? These are some of the main causes of the accidents.
But what would be, in your estimation, the number one reason or the main reason? Dominant reason?
I would say speeding.
I would say speeding and overtaking also. Because we drive on the left, and for two people to collide. Sometimes, most times you have persons overtaking at various locations, junctions, corners, blind spots. Yeah.
I know you're not in the mind of those unscrupulous drivers, but what do you think would cause those drivers to behave in that way?
It's a myriad of things that may contribute to drivers driving erratically on the road. Most drivers, they may believe that they may not be caught in the act and take the chance to do it. So if they know there's probably a police officers on the highway, they may be stopped, they may be charged for dangerous driving or causing an accident. It would be a deterrent to drivers driving erratically.
But this is not the first time I've heard that, and this is so true. So therefore, what is preventing the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, in particular the traffic department, making its presence felt on some of our busy roads?
Tim, it's a lot of issues. We face with manpower issues now, a lack of resources, equipment, vehicles. So it's an arduous task we have to deal with, and we have a lot of area, a very large area to cover. We have the entire north up to Shock, and we have to patrol all the way down to Bexon. That's that's the scope of the area that the traffic department has to patrol.
And how many officers you have?
Roughly 50.
50?
50.
Roughly.
And what would be the ideal number that would help you to comfortably execute your duties?
Well, when I entered the department, on a normal shift, you would have at least 10 constables, 4 cyclists, and about 10 special constables patrolling. So that's about 20 to 30 officers per shift. And now that number is diminished severely. We just faced with a serious problem with manpower in the department.
But I will say that though that we have that limited manpower, that we are doing a good job, and we're trying our best with the limited manpower that we have. We are trying to make the best of it.
So you're saying that certainly the situation could be a lot worse.
Yes,
It can be. It can
I
be.
can say from traffic standpoint. I mean, when you have accidents, there's not really a very long wait for the police to get there, because I mean, traffic is a department. When we have an accident, we leave the office and we attend to it right away. Sometimes maybe on weekends when it's the shift is a little more limited, you may have 2 officers only on duty for a period of 12 hours. So let's say you involve in an accident, shock roundabout. At the time, the officers could be at Bexon on another accident. So obviously they'll have to wait. You'll have to wait until they're done and then get to your location.
Now, what kind of requests are you making to your superiors? And what are you hearing from your superiors in return?
Well, it's we express our concerns to them every day. We have meetings. It's just that the force on the whole, we face with a shortage of staff, and there's nothing much that we can do. But with the limited staff that we have, as Constable Chico said, we're trying the best that we can.
Yes.
So any kind of any overtures have been made to your department in terms of saying that on the horizon you might get additional police officers, there will be some kind of improvement anytime soon? Can we expect this?
Well, anytime there's training, we always get a portion of individuals from that course to the traffic department. So basically, it's every time there's training, different constables or SPCs are brought into the police force, they send a few to strengthen the department.
So what are the numbers now for the southern part of the island in terms of the motorcycles that you have and the manpower?
The southern department, they have less area to cover compared to traffic. So with the numbers they do a pretty good job. They're not as strengthened as our department, but with the limited resources they have, I find they do pretty well in responding to accidents.
If speeding is the main cause of the problems we're experiencing on our roads right now, do we have any set speed limits as far as you're aware?
Yes, we do have speed limits. The speed limit in St. Lucia is 60 kilometers per hour on the highway, 10 kilometers per hour in the city. There are areas in St. Lucia where the speed limit is demarcated. For instance, the Bexar Highway, there are speed signs to alert drivers as to what speed they are supposed to travel on that stretch of highway.
Which is 40 miles per hour.
But how do you determine that somebody is speeding? What kind of equipment do you have in the first place to determine that?
Well, we were on the verge of securing some radar or laser guns to assist us in...
But we've been hearing that for the longest while.
Well, Tim, it's something that we work into. We cannot say that we won't agitate for us to get it. I mean, it's just the procuring that sort of equipment to allow us to do our job properly.
How soon you think you'll be getting those radar guns?
Well, Tim, that's beyond me. That question is beyond me.
So why have speed limits in the first place, officer? Why should we have speed limits and we cannot determine that somebody is overspeeding?
Well, I wish I could answer that question, but I cannot.
So if you see somebody speeding, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it as a police officer?
Yeah, I mean, if you see that the person is driving erratically, you can pull the person up and inform the person, there's a speed limit on the road.
But you cannot take any kind of punitive action against them? You cannot hold them before the courts?
No, because you need to...
Well, you need a unit of measure to determine how fast they were going in the first place.
But you can't tell them, what, it's obvious that you're going over 40 miles an hour, and then the speed limit on the road is 40 miles an hour. Prime example is the dual carriageway that we have from VG roundabout to Shock. That road, persons driving that road like it's a racetrack. Why? I don't know. Persons driving that, and it's 30 miles an hour. And I mean, we must understand, look at the construction of the road. If you're driving on the inner lane, you have a wall to your right, and you have a vehicle to your left. If you're driving on the outer lane, you have a high curb, about almost 2 feet high on your left, and a vehicle to your right. So why should we be driving on a road where it's 40 miles an hour and you see persons, the vehicles have overturned, the vehicles are written off? Obviously, it has to do with speed. And persons just keep on and insist on driving fast.
Well,
yes.
I think one can deduce from that is because of the lack of a deterrent.
I agree.
I agree.
So if, for example, you encounter one motorist and on 3 occasions for the day and he or she is speeding, you could only caution them.
Yes.
Well, Tim, there are other offenses that can deal with that offense because you have dangerous driving. And dangerous driving deals with the manner of driving, how the person drives according to the amount of traffic expected on the road at that time. So there are other offenses you can report the driver for.
The breathalyzers, because very often we hear of people driving under the influence of alcohol. That is another area of concern. How do you determine that somebody is under the influence of alcohol whilst they are behind the wheel?
Well, Tim, there are other, besides the breathalyzer, there are other systems where we can measure the amount of alcohol, blood alcohol that somebody has. We can measure it through their blood or through their urine. The breathalyzer, where we have not received or gotten any breathalyzers as yet, there are other measures where there are other avenues where we can measure the amount of alcohol that is in somebody's blood or their urine.
It is mandatory that they cooperate with you?
Well, the law allows them the leeway to deny taking the test, but it can be determined as knowledge that they have it. So they can be charged for failing to accept the test.
If they deny, they can be arrested also.
But how would you deem them to be guilty? Is it on the basis of evidence that you present before the courts?
The law says if a request is made and you deny it, you can be arrested and charged for denying to take a blood alcohol test. And the court will use that. I mean, if you know that you're not under the influence, why should you refuse an alcohol test? So
I think there are precursors to you arresting somebody for driving under. You have to suspect. You have to, for instance...
But how can you convict somebody on suspicion?
You can't convict them on suspicion, but there are ways of testing for the blood alcohol or the urine in the alcohol in the urine. So there are avenues for us to test for persons being intoxicated while driving. It's just the breathalyzers. Most persons, when they hear about drivers driving under the influence, they automatically think that because the police, we don't have breathalyzers, that we cannot enforce driving under the influence, but that is not true.
But do you have a demerit system? Because just recently in Trinidad and Tobago, a mechanic, Wazir Ramjohn, in April, he was disqualified for driving after appearing in court on his 3rd charge of being behind the wheel while under the influence of alcohol. He's only 52 years old. Now, what would happen in the case of St. Lucia? Somebody found driving under the influence of alcohol and on 3 occasions. What would happen to that individual, as far as you're aware?
If that person is arrested and charged and they're brought before the magistrate and they are convicted for the offense of driving intoxicated.
In the first instance?
In the first instance, the magistrate will probably impose a penalty, and it says that a person who contravenes subsection 2 commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding $5,000 for driving under the influence. If that person commits that offense again, more than likely, if you're the investigator, what I can advise them to do is probably take them before the same magistrate who has already dealt with the matter to see if that person may be prosecuted again for the same offense. And it's left up to the courts. I mean, the police are just a part in the system.
And he can be disqualified from driving?
Yes, someone can be disqualified in St. Lucia for driving.
But is there a need, you think, for a demerit system? Do we have a demerit system?
There is a demerit system according to the Traffic Act, but it is not being enforced. The system is there in the Traffic Act for the demerit point. I think what is missing is that they have to have a system of how much points does a driver start with, how many points you lose for each offense, and the minister is the person who determines through statutory instruments how the demerit system will be implemented.
And the demerit system as far as been on the books for how long now?
2003.
You said talking about 14 years.
Yes.
And yet still it's not being implemented. Officer Chico, why do you think this has happened? Is it a case where the authorities did not see the need to implement it, to enforce that particular law, to give it teeth, to give it life? What is at the genesis of this issue?
Well, I mean, the law speaks of it. I can read section 179 of the Traffic Act says, where a person has been convicted under this act or the regulations, the licensing authority shall record in respect of that person the number of demerit points set out opposite that offense in Schedule 2. And it says, for example, subsection 3 says, where a person is convicted of 2 or more offenses arising out of the same circumstances, the demerit points to be recorded are those relating to the offense in respect of that of which the greatest number of demerit points is imposed. So the section is there, the law is there, and the licensing authority, like
Just to put it in practice.
has to put it in practice.
But why should it take 14 years?
I don't know. The licensing authority has other ones to put it in practice. We are just there to enforce, bring people to the court. When the persons are convicted, from there the licensing authority can, put the system in place to have the demerit points attached to the record. So if you gain a total amount of demerit points, you should be disqualified, and I agree.
But as far as you're aware, are questions being asked of the of the transport board, the transport department with regard to this issue?
We mention it all the time during meetings, Tim. We mention it. It's just a matter of implementing it and putting it into practice.
And you mentioned as recent as when? Last year? Earlier this year?
Last year, we had meetings and we mentioned we have meetings internally in our department, and we bring forward points and different things we want to see implemented. The officer goes to meetings and he forwards those recommendations to the licensing authority.
But you think you're not speaking with a louder voice, stronger voice maybe?
Well, Tim, the police are just one part of the system. I mean, you have the judicial system, you have the licensing authority, and the law, we work within the parameters of the law, and if what the parameters of the law set out for us to do, we do that. At the end of the day, we do what is expected of us. The powers that be, if they have to implement certain other aspects to make a synergy within the system work properly, then that's them.
But obviously, there is need for the authorities, and that will include the police, transport department, to be more proactive. Do you envisage, if it continues to be business as usual, that there'll be any difference? Or are we just hoping that our motorists, road users, pedestrians and so on, would just obey the traffic regulations and therefore everything will fall into place? That alone will work, you think?
I don't think so, Tim. We need the assistance of all departments. The transport board, the police, the hospital, the medical staff, to assist us to go forward with different implementation of different things in the Traffic Act. I mean, there's a system, there's a ticketing system now we have at the traffic department. It was the brainchild of Mr. Cumberbatch, Dexter Felix, and it's a system arising out of the need for us to have statistical information when it comes to tickets. So anybody who receives a ticket within the northern part of the island, the ticket is entered into a system. That information is there. Transport board can access that system to see if anyone has an outstanding ticket. We wanted to implement something where if you were convicted of any offense and you went to pay your driver's license and you had an outstanding ticket, you wouldn't be able to pay your driver's license. That is where we at now. But the implementation of that system is left for transport board.
Do you feel sometimes that people are unfairly portioning blame at your feet as police officers, as officers of the traffic department at the Royal St. Lucia Police Force? Because very often in the various programming, talk shows and so on, people are asking questions. Where are the police officers? What are they doing? Why aren't they out on Sundays and public holidays and so on to maintain their presence and to serve as a deterrent? How do you guys feel as traffic officers in terms of executing your duties and considering the conditions under which you work?
I mean, we know exactly what we are going through at the department. So, I mean, when persons speak, I mean, we know that the problem which we face has to do with manpower, limited resources. And like I said in the beginning, I know that we are doing the best that we can with the limited resources that we have presently. I mean, persons are always quick to blame the police for everything, but I mean, we have our part to play. And I mean, it's not just the police. The drivers themselves has a big role to play too, because they are the ones who drive on the roads and break the laws, and So, like Officer Lantigo said, The problem we have basically is the limited resources, the limited manpower. If we have more manpower, then we can make our presence being felt on the road more often than present.
But can we rely only on the drivers basically acceding to the various laws, the regulations on our roads? Do you see that as the only method that should be can be employed?
You need police presence.
Yeah.
You need patrols on the highway. Recently, we conducted some traffic operations at the department, and for about a 2 to 3 day period, we had no reports of any accidents. So it is a deterrent when persons see police officers on the highway, the visibility, knowing that the fact that if they engage in any dangerous or reckless driving, that they will be caught, they will be reported, they will get charged. So it is a deterrent. So we want to boost up our patrols on the highways of St. Lucia.
What is the situation like in the north of the island in terms of traffic violations, in terms of crashes and collisions occurring in the north of St. Lucia?
Well, Tim, if you look at the stats, last year, 2016, we recorded a total of 737 accidents for the year.
Island-wide or in the north?
No, just the north only.
Just the north.
Now, March of this, the end of April of last year, we recorded about, I think, about 100 or 200 and something accidents. By March of this year, we had already exceeded that amount, and we were still a month behind still.
Mm-hmm.
So we realized that more and more we're getting a high volume of accidents. Even to this date, we have a total of 295 accidents recorded from up to May 3rd.
That's today.
Yes, and that's a lot of crashes, I think, a lot. And I think some of it has to do with we must understand that we have a lot of vehicles on the road now. Compared to 20 years ago to now, we have much more vehicles on the road. We have much more drivers, we have much more young drivers, more minibuses, so I guess, and that's just for car streets. Pedestrians also. And we are not even investigating accidents at Babono. Thank God for the Babono station, because before the station was there, we had to cover the entire Babono.
The Babono area.
Yeah.
Any category, we don't want to stigmatize anybody, but I hear people are talking about young drivers, and sometimes people have a tendency to talk about our senior citizens on the roads and so on, and also point fingers at the minibus drivers. Any category of drivers you think are mostly responsible for most of the crashes and collisions taking place on our roads?
I honestly think it's evenly, spread about. I will not say that minibus drivers are the worst drivers or young persons are the cause of accidents more than anybody else, but I think it's evenly spread about. With the elderly, and the law states that if you want to drive a public service vehicle or an omnibus, when you reach the age of 65 years, you must take an additional test.
Yes.
If you want to drive a private vehicle, when you have up to the age of 75 years,
You have to show competence that
then you have to show competence that you are still capable of driving after the age of 75. So, but unless you hear persons say that the minibus drivers are the worst drivers, minibus drivers, like every basket, you have some bad eggs. So I'll not say all minibus drivers are bad drivers, but
You may not want to stigmatize them, but
yes,
in every facet of society, you find drivers that are just, how would I say, not obeying the traffic laws. And
yes.
to stigmatize one set, it wouldn't be correct. You find it across the board with younger drivers, minibus drivers. You find it across the board.
How do we change the mindset of our drivers in St. Lucia?
We have to change the driving culture in St. Lucia. That's the first thing. We have a system in St. Lucia where we believe we can get away with anything in St. Lucia in terms of driving. One driver, I'm sure I myself, Constable Chico, we have investigated accidents involving the same driver multiple times.
Oh yes.
The accident would be investigated. Sometimes they settle for insurance. They go for the insurance. The insurance pays them, compensates them for the vehicle. They buy another vehicle. The cycle continues. There's nothing to penalize them for driving erratically or driving dangerously. If there was a system where perhaps if you get yourself involved in a serious accident, the vehicle is written off, you probably damage somebody else's vehicle. When you go to insure your vehicle again, your premium will go up, or you'll be asked to pay more money to insure your vehicle. It could be a deterrent, because you wouldn't want to get yourself involved in an accident and let's say today your premium is $2,000. When you go and pay it again, it's $5,000. It would deter you from driving dangerously.
What is the deterrent now? Do we have any deterrent for driving recklessly on our roads?
Patrols. We beefed up our patrols quite a bit. There was some limitation in the amount of staff we had a couple of months ago, but we got back some of our staff. There was some operational things they were doing in management in the police force, and some of our staff were taken for part of that operation. But over the last couple of months, we've received some more of our staff, so we've boosted up our patrols on the highway.
But Tim, I would say for our drivers, I think education also is important, because speaking to drivers on a daily basis, a lot of our drivers are unaware the significance of certain road signs, certain road markings in the road. You understand? And then, for example, if you're driving and you realize that the center lane mark, the center line is solid, it means that you should not overtake. If it's a double white line, it means that you should not go on the other side, period. But when you start, persons are not aware of this thing because they don't educate themselves. And all of these things are in the regulations. Persons don't take the time to go out and study themselves. You go to driving school for, let's say, 3 months or 6 months. The driving instructor will teach you a few signs, and after you've gotten a license, that's it. And then a year after you get a license, you go to the Saffa Lewis to do the defensive driving, and there's nothing after. There's no follow-up. There's no relearning what you may have lost over the years. And persons don't take the time out to go out and ask questions or research and find out why there's a double white line there, why the line is broken. Yes.
You're watching a Newsmaker Live right here on a DBS television. We'll come back, we'll talk about the tinting of vehicles. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Once again, you're watching Newsmaker Live on DBS Television with me, Timothy Polio, and of course my guests in studio right now, Miguel Lancico, Acting Corporal, and Ron Chico, Constable. In just a moment, we'll be taking your calls, so please stand by for that. Let's talk about the tinting of vehicles. We've been speaking about this for quite some time now. We understand that there are provisions in our laws, traffic laws, that that prohibit the tinting of vehicles. And to what extent, officer?
Tim, recently there's been a serious problem with persons tinting the entire windscreen. And
the entire windscreen?
The entire windscreen, from the top to the bottom. And it prevents you as an officer approaching that vehicle to see anything inside of it. It poses a danger. Now, persons, they may have persons who may have different reasons for having the entire windscreen tinted, but you must accept that there are persons who may have tinted the entire windscreen for more sinister reasons, probably to commit robberies and different things like that, transport drugs. It's dangerous to someone if you like say you're walking down the road and a vehicle stops near you. You wouldn't even be able to identify who's driving that vehicle. So we want drivers in St. Lucia to, if they have tinted the entire windscreen, to please remove it. It is an offense, and it's according to Section 23. It says that a person shall not drive a motor vehicle or trailer on a road if the motor vehicle or trailer has a tint on the front windscreen, unless the tint is less than 8 inches in height and is placed in the top of the front windscreen. So it is a ticketable offense, and the charge is $250. So
Is that sufficient? Is that much of a deterrent? Officer Lansico?
Chico. Yeah, I think
Chico.
it's good enough. But we must be minded that the restriction is only for the front windshield. There is no restriction on the other windows on the vehicle. For example, the minibuses, for example, at one point in time, it was against the regulations to tint any window on that vehicle. But because of, I think the minibuses had a talk with the minister, and he amended the legislation to allow a certain percentage
of tint.
On the, I think it's the front, the two front passengers.
The sides as well.
The two front, the driver's door and the other passenger's door, and the rest of the vehicle just as a light tint.
So what was the argument presented by the minibus drivers?
Well, I mean, when the vehicles, you know, our bus stops, for example, some bus stops are directly in the sunlight, and there is no shade, for example. So that was one of the main issues.
I don't know if you can recall some persons, they used to put cardboard across
right,
to shield passengers. So I think that was the issue. So they requested that to allow them to light tint to tint the side of the vehicle.
It is being suggested, as far as the tinting of vehicles is concerned, that police officers themselves are also guilty of engaging in that practice.
Well, Tim, police are subjected to the law as any other person in this country. And if, while conducting a check, police officers stop, even in my department, I've instructed officers that if they stop any police officer and the entire windscreen is tinted, that they have to report them.
But isn't that affecting your visibility as a driver if your entire windscreen is tinted?
Yes, it does.
Especially, okay, let's say at night, you're driving at night, it's raining heavily, it will impair your vision to some degree. And I don't know why persons still want to drive the windows tinted. The windows are tinted so dark that you can barely see anything in the vehicle.
Sometimes you cannot see at all.
You can't see at all. Understand? And even the condition of the roads too. I mean, while you're driving, for example, if you're driving at night, Tim, and it's raining heavily, let's say you're driving a Boakachi, it is difficult enough for me to drive and my windows are up tinted. Most times I'm taking sharp corners. I have to bring I bring my window down, even if it's raining, because you cannot see the corner if your side glass is tinted, far less for your front windshield.
It will impair your vision, and you have to think about if you're driving on a strip of highway and it's not well lit and someone accidentally crosses the road while you're coming.
Yes.
Would you be able to see that person? So these are the questions drivers have to ask themselves. Is it worth it?
What about signage on our roads? How much of a concern is this?
Well, I'll say one thing, Tim. As a traffic accident investigator, we must understand that the road markings, one, they assist the drivers whilst driving, and two, they assist us in our investigations. Let's say you're driving along a freshly paved road at night and it's raining. Because of the moisture, the road gets extremely dark, and sometimes there are no marks on the road. So it's difficult for the driver to negotiate, stay on his lane or negotiate a corner. And that happens all the time.
You may not even see the edge of the road.
And you may not even see the edge of the road because it's so dark and there's no white line to indicate to you as, okay, this is the edge, and have to stay within, stay along this lane and not go off the edge of the road.
Even signs to alert drivers that a corner is coming up.
Yes.
To slow down pedestrian crossing. Some of our pedestrian crossing now in the city are fading. So they have to have a drive to mark or repost some more signs in the city.
And that's the responsibility of your good friends where the traffic department, the transport board,
Yes.
transport departments.
Yes, the licensing authority. And also we have a serious problem, Tim, with persons defacing and damaging signs. There are many places that mirrors were placed and persons break the mirrors. Persons deface the signs, they paint over it, they bend it, they break it, and all of these either are against the law. You can be arrested for it, but obviously they do it in the wee hours of the morning. Nobody sees them. Next morning you drive down the road.
I think just maliciously.
Yes, malicious practice.
But the use of technology, I'm sure you would agree, can address a number of things. Because in Trinidad, let me make reference to Trinidad and Tobago again, because legislation provides for implementation of a red light camera at traffic lights. If motorists break the red light, the camera will snap a photograph of their vehicle's number plate. The information will be forwarded to them, and of course the authorities, and then action will be taken. The fact is that the tools are there, the technology is there. Is it a case that we're just lagging behind?
I wouldn't say that. I myself have investigated an accident at the Friendship Roundabout, and I received video evidence because of a camera posted there of the accident, and I was able to get a conviction because of the camera. But with anything technology, it will fail over time. So I think it's just a position of reacquiring more equipment, more cameras to assist the police.
But the fact is that you say purchase more, but you'll have not made the initial purchase in the first place.
Speaking of the red light cameras,
Done the red light cameras alone. I mean, you're talking
You have
about the
CCTV,
speed guns, the speed guns,
Yeah.
and the breathalyzer equipment and so on.
yeah, well, let's be honest, like the officer said.
Is there a need, you think, officers, for some public service announcements to be on television, public education campaigns? To what extent do you think that this should be implemented, and how soon?
I think the soonest opportunity will be good. I mean, we have used before in the past. We have used radio shows. We have had during our police week. We've had on display for persons to come into the place and see and ask questions in reference to traffic. And I think
We do
we do
sensitization
in schools. We go to different schools. We teach the children how to cross the street, and we do the various lectures at various entities. So it's an ongoing thing. We can do more, but it's not something that we have not been doing.
But having a sustained exercise or initiative in terms of those public service announcements on radio and on television.
we do radio shows all the time, Tim. Corporal Serge is from the traffic department. He does radio shows all the time. It's just a matter of keeping it up, having more, almost like what we're doing here, sensitizing the public about the different traffic laws, what offenses, what they should and should not do. So we have room for improvement, I must say.
Recently, I think it was last year, what was a big issue for the motoring public was the need for them to have in their possession their driving licenses and insurance documents and so on. How much of an issue is that right now? People having in their possession, in their vehicle, the various documents that they require to have?
Well, Tim, unfortunately, it's not at the level we want it to be. In 2016, it was one of the more prevalent offenses that people got tickets for. We issued 346 tickets, but that number is too high for something as simple as carrying your driver's license and insurance information on you while driving.
You say 346 tickets?
346 tickets. That's way too high. So we have to do some more sensitization, because it's obvious that some people are not aware that they're supposed to have the driver's license and insurance information.
Why did they need to impose such a penalty on people when I think you're given, what, 48 hours to produce the document in the first place?
Well, that law was removed. The law to produce it within 48 hours. It was removed and it was replaced.
So you must present it
instantaneously.
Immediately. Yeah.
In terms of investigation, it assists the officers tremendously, I must say, because before you would have a situation where your investigation would almost be stalled because you were waiting for somebody to produce documentation, to produce your file. And now most accidents persons produce upon request. So it assists in investigation. You can prepare police reports in a much more timely fashion because of that law.
But in the case, the 340 odd cases talking about there, do you have any evidence to prove that those people did not have their documents in the first place? Or is it a case where they were negligent, they left it at home, they left it somewhere, they left their bag at home and so on?
Well, most times when you ask them to produce their driver's license or permit, they tell you, well, they forgot it, or they don't have the wallet with them, or they don't have it with them. And I mean, the law has changed. Section 85 says on every occasion when a person drives a motor vehicle or trailer, that person shall, not may, but you shall, means you must have it, have in possession his or her driver's license, permit, or other driver's identification document and the registration document in relation to the motor vehicle or trailer. So the law says that you must have it with you at all times while driving. And failing to have it, you can be penalized with a penalty of about $1,000 or imprisonment for 3 months.
To add to that, some persons may say, well, can't I have a copy of my driver's license or my insurance document in the vehicle? Now, you would agree that if you have a digital copy of your driver's license or your insurance information, it can be manipulated if it's a copy. So we encouraging drivers to have the documentation, the actual document on them while driving.
Are there instances where, for example, they might have a legitimate reason for not having it in their vehicle? People break into your vehicles ever so often, and they might just steal whatever documents that you have there, thinking it's valuable to them.
Well, it's down to the officer's discretion. I mean, somebody may give you an excuse reference to why they may not have the documentation, and I mean, it's all down to discretion. If you want, you may say, okay, you know what, I believe this person, it was a genuine mistake and I will give them a break. But in most instances, we want drivers to have their driver's license and insurance information with them.
We continue to hear about the backlog of cases in affecting the judiciary. Is that an issue for traffic matters? If somebody has been given a ticket or somebody has been hauled before the courts for a traffic violation, what would say would be the ideal period before they're taken to court? What would the delay period be?
Then we have a serious problem with that issue. I personally go to court all the time. I was at court today, and traffic court is on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. I don't think that's sufficient time to hear all the matters that traffic brings before the courts on a daily basis. You have accident files. A typical accident takes about 3 to 4 hours for the entire matter to be heard. You have to examine, you have to give evidence, cross-examination, re-examination. So it takes a while, and 3 hours, 4 hours is not sufficient to hear all the traffic matters in the court.
And have you already communicated this to the authorities?
Yeah, well, the authorities are aware of it. I mean, the problem is with the courthouse. As you're aware, that we don't have a proper sitting courthouse. So basically, we are temporarily downstairs the family court, and we can only occupy the building between the hours of 9 a.m. to 12. If the magistrate has to go beyond 12, she has to inform the person that she will be at the place beyond 12 p.m. So that is our main problem. Back then, when we had our court to ourselves, you could have court from 9 a.m. until 4, 5, 6. But because of the issue now, we only have 3 hours.
3 hours.
As far as the backlog of cases, how many cases are we talking about right now? I feel aware for the northern part of the island
Well, we're not aware.
that are pending.
We can't give a definite number on that.
But ideally, how many cases you think you would have on a daily?
Well, Tim, I could just draw reference to one of my matters. I have a matter investigating from 2014. And it's just concluded recently, so that's a long time. I mean, sometimes you come to court, you would get an adjournment because there's another matter sitting before yours, so it causes a backlog in the court system.
Are there instances where, for example, you would urge the two parties, to settle the matters out of court, if that is possible? Is that the ideal? No?
Unfortunately, some drivers, they realize that they come to court all the time and they take it among themselves to reach a settlement, and sometimes they say they're not interested in pursuing the matter anymore because of the amount of time it takes to hear a traffic matter, especially an accident. Ticket matters, they heard pretty quickly, I find, but traffic accidents, they take a longer period of time to be disposed of in the court. Okay.
Let's look at another issue, the licensing and insurance part to it. Do you find that many people are insuring their vehicles, paying their personal licenses, and also paying the license for their vehicles? Well, in terms when you ask for the documents?
Well, I mean, yes, I think the percentage of persons who pay the license is greater than those who don't pay it. You will always get someone who is delinquent, persons driving with an expired license for a few years, persons not paying the insurance, but the greater percentage of drivers do pay the license, insurance, and road license.
But in terms of driving an expired license, do you understand something that could happen? For example, I think you have licenses being valid for 3 years.
Well, I mean, you ensuring that your license is up to date is your responsibility. With me, I know my license expires, let's say probably in October. I know 3 years has elapsed. from the time probably it reaches about July, I'd be okay saying, okay, my license has about a month. So you have to keep a record of the status of your license and insurance to know when to pay it. I mean, it's no excuse for you not to have your driver's license not to be valid.
You're watching Newsmaker Live. Once again, my guests this evening, Miguel Lancico, Acting Corporal, and Constable Ron Chico. They are from the Traffic Department of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. We take a break. When we come back, your calls, please stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Once again, you're watching Newsmaker Live right here on DBS Television. Let's put a telephone number on screen right now so that you can call with your questions and your comments for my two guests. They are Miguel Lancico and Ron Chico. They're both from the Traffic Department of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. We have a caller 9. Hello, good evening. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, caller.
This is Corporal Nicholas. I just want to say, guys, excellent, awesome job. You guys have been a credit to the organization right now. The way you all have composed yourselves and your responses, I mean, I'm just so impressed, and I'm sure that the citizenry is also impressed with you and also the organization. So on behalf of the Police Welfare Association, I'd like to say, great job, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Zachary.
All right, thank you so much for calling.
Okay.
As we await another call on the program, once again, this is Newsmaker Live. Good evening. Go ahead, please, with your contribution.
Yes, good night, Tim.
Good night to you, sir.
I think the previous caller beat me to it. But I want to applaud these officers for the job that they're doing right now. I think it's a very important job that they're doing in terms of, giving the public the sort of sensitization that is required, in terms of what's happening on a daily basis in traffic. They highlighted quite a few areas that are of concern to many, and the some that I think that they may have missed that I want to just, bring to their attention and probably to the attention of the public. And as you go along the roads, you would notice, all sorts of plates. Persons are carrying all sorts of registration numbers on the vehicles in terms of the configuration of the plates. And I think that the law speaks to the prescribed form in which your plates are supposed to be. And there's a reason for that. It is for persons to be able to identify those vehicles. We have all sorts of fancy number plates and so on, and those are some of the things that need to be looked into. There's also the issue of persons making alterations when it comes to the step to the back of, especially the pickups. They tend to change those things, and they obscure the number, the registration number of the vehicles. You get to the tail of those vehicles and you just can't see the number to that vehicle ahead of you. And I think there are a few culprits among us. And so those are some of the things that need to be looked into. For those persons who are hearing it, I would hope that they would take that as a warning that they should fix that problem, because the number plate is not supposed to be obscured. With the tint, well, they have addressed that, and I think that's a very important thing too, that persons need to be mindful of. In terms of the insurance of vehicles and so on, what I have noticed is that there are persons who have their vehicles registered for a particular purpose, but then you check them and they will give you insurance coverage for a different purpose, a purpose for which their vehicle is not registered. And that too can create a problem. If you have a vehicle that is registered as private, you cannot have insurance that says that you can carry passengers for hire or reward. And we seem to have some of those issues. So those are some of the things that I think they can look forward to addressing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution, sir. Get the impression that's one of your colleagues there.
Yes.
You're watching Newsmaker Live. Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Good evening, team.
Hi.
Just a bit concerned. Just last week in the mall, I realized a vehicle don't carry a number plate. But however, it has the beast, both at the front and the back. Is it a new thing that is going on now? Just have a name instead of a number plate?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's something called vanity plates. It's authorized by the Ministry of Transport. So someone can pay a fee of $2,500 per annum, and they can get a number plate customized. So you can put any letter, any configuration of a letter or number, and you can get it done for $2,500. So if you see somebody with a plate that like probably is a name or something, so it is legal, but they would have to have the supporting documentation when police stop them to prove that yes, it is an authorized number.
We have a call holding on. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. How are you doing, sir?
Hi, I'm okay, sir. Good evening to you.
Good evening. How are you doing, officers?
I'm
Good evening,
okay,
good
sir.
evening.
Thanks for calling.
Oh, good. Tim, one of the concerns I have is let me lower the television, is the constant charging of motorists in the city, where the speed limit in the city doesn't merit the charge for a seat belt, because every 40 feet there's a junction, right? Now on the highway, where they're supposed to have motorcycles to monitor the speed limit and charge you for a seat belt or for not wearing a seat belt, there is no presence of officers on the highways. In the days when they had Robocop, he used to ride from Castries to Grozilet. Castries to Grozilet on his bike. And everybody was buckled up because they knew there was patrol on the highways. There is absolutely no police patrol on motorcycles on the highways. But yet, in town, there are over 30 police officers charging you for parking or for seatbelt. Recently, I went to buy a shoe circuit for my daughter. It didn't take me 10 minutes to buy the pair of shoes for $60. I was charged $250 for parking in front of shoe circuit. $250 to purchase a $60 shoe. Do you think, and now the officer tells me, I should park in government buildings? I ask him the question, put yourselves in my place and tell me if you would park in government buildings and walk to shoe circus to buy a shoe for your daughter. He couldn't answer. But in all fairness, they're doing a good job. It's just the highway patrol that needs to come in place, because you see the bikers, they're wheeling and it's causing a problem. And some people are over speeding, and one of the things they have to focus on, you see the fact that pickup vans and trucks that have people at the back going to work, a whole lot on Sundays, people going, that is illegal, but they need to enforce the law on that.
Thank you so much, sir. What's the officers?
Well, caller, to answer the first part of your question, I mean, the section 192 of the Traffic Act says clearly a person shall not drive or be driven in the front seat of a motor vehicle unless the person is wearing a seatbelt. So it doesn't matter if you're in the city or on the highway. As long as you are behind the steering wheel, in control of that vehicle, or at the front seat, you should be wearing a seatbelt according to what the law states. And the second part to your question, which, I mean, you have to understand, we have adopted a habit in St. Lucia that persons just want to park and just run into a store, run back out. Drive away, park into a store, run into a store, drive back out. And I mean, the roads are restricted for parking, because when you park on Chaussee Road and Brazil Street and Jeremy Street, these are the main, we call them the ring roads, in the city. As long as you see there is an obstruction on Brazil Street, rest assured that the traffic on the coming down the morning is obstructed. The traffic cannot flow. So I mean, we have to adopt the fact that we use the car parks, and even there are various areas where there are small car parks you can use for $2.50. I think by Cots is one. There's one on Victoria Street. There's one by Customs a little higher up. So I mean, you can use these little parking or go in the car park. You can park there for how long? I think it's $2.50 an hour. So even though you come to Castries tomorrow, Thursday, and you have to buy a shoe, you have your little running to do, you go to the car park, you pay $2.50 for an hour. You walk in town and you buy your stuff, and then you come back.
We have a call. Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I have a concern with some of the police officers and their eagerness to charge.
Mm-hmm.
I respect the law,
Mm-hmm.
and I think sometimes, discretion has to be exercised in the execution of their duties.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak from a personal experience where, you have people who are trigger happy, they like to shoot quickly. We have some police officers who are traffic officers who are ticket happy. They who just want to charge for charging sake with absolutely no reason. And what makes it worse is when they feel for any reason that their authority is being challenged, they would almost as if be vindictive in the process, and so they would not let you off on a caution, for example, even when the legislation is unclear. When I say legislation, but the enforcement of the legislation, for example, in Castries, you have a number of areas where it is supposed that there may have been at some point double line, which we know is no parking.
Mm-hmm.
However, what happens is if you're in an area, you idling in an area, or you're not parked, but you in the vehicle. I've had an experience where I was charged by an officer. There were no lines there. She said there's supposed to be lines. So anyway, I went to she didn't have a book, which is in itself an offense to charge somebody. You don't have a ticket book, but you're charging them and you're asking them to drive to the police station. Subsequent to that, I went to the police station. I spoke to the officer in charge, and he told me that he would be reviewing, because he asked his officers not to charge people when they are in areas where there's presumed to be a line, where it is not visible. And I have the Ministry of Communication to blame for that, because clearly they are not doing their jobs when it comes to following up and making sure that lines are in places that probably once was there. I am not expected as a citizen to remember everywhere there used to be a line. What I'm supposed to do is to honor if there is a traffic sign. The same thing applies if we are a tourist destination. Just imagine a tourist comes to St. Lucia. You as an officer cannot go to the tourist and say, there used to be a line there. Can't you see that there used to be a line? It looks faint. You can't, because what you have to enforce is the fact that there is a visible line. Right? However, he said to me that, he's going to withdraw the ticket. But the officer was so anxious to make sure that she proved her point. I had never seen a traffic ticket pass so quickly. By the time I went back, I brought the tickets to the officer in charge. By the time it was about a month, I'm getting something in the mail saying that I owe for tickets. And not only that, I was double charged because I did not make the payment on time. So I'm saying this to say that, sometimes our officers are not, working with us as a community. And that is why you sometimes have this anti-police, campaigns going on out there. Because what we know to be community policing doesn't happen anymore. It's almost as if the police are acting against the people and it's one against the other. It shouldn't be. We should be, working together, and that's how I think that everybody will achieve the objectives that they intend to. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Any response from you, Constable Chico?
Yes, caller, first of all, you must understand that the officers are tasked with responsibility of enforcement. Okay? The officer may use his or her discretion if he sees a need. But the way, based on what you said, it seems that the officer left the ticket on her vehicle and had not spoken to her. But she said something about not having signs. In the absence of a sign, the law says improper parking, section 82, a person shall not leave or cause a motor vehicle or trailer to remain stationary in such a way that it presents a danger to others or obstructs traffic. So even if there's no lines on the road and your vehicle is parked and it's obstructing traffic, you can't be ticketed. And she said something like her vehicle is idling. According to the law, parking means allowing your vehicle to remain stationary for any length of period in time. Persons believe when they speak of parking that they must exit the vehicle, they must close the mirrors, they must lock the vehicle. No, as long as the vehicle is stationary, whether you in it or not, whether it's idling or not, it is deemed to be parked. Okay, so, and in the absence of a line or traffic sign, as long as you're obstructing traffic, you can be ticketed.
Let's take a call. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, ma'am.
Yeah, my concern is how often do the police check out the vehicles that are being rented with private plates? Because I know of an incident where a tourist rented a private vehicle and he almost got killed in a villa because the vehicle overturned. And when there was a story fabricated to the police, and the man almost lost his life.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
That's a problem we encounter a lot of traffic. Persons rent vehicles from persons with private numbers.
Vehicles,
That is an offense. The Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act makes provision for persons who have a rental license. You go to the Ministry of Transport. I think the charge is, I think it's about $5,000. You pay, you get a rental license. You become registered as a rental company.
It's for 1 year?
I believe it's for 1 year.
You
become you can rent your vehicle. Now, the problem with renting a private vehicle is an unauthorized hire. It's an offense to rent a private vehicle as a rental. So it is an offense. We have had accidents where persons have been charged for an authorized hire. So it is an offense where we have charged persons for it.
You see, and the issue is it's only maybe in an accident that you get to know that that vehicle was rented to me by so and so person. I mean, if you see somebody driving a private vehicle, it wouldn't come to your mind that that vehicle was rented.
Let's turn our attention to another call. Good evening.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you, ma'am.
Good evening, officer.
Good evening, caller.
I have a little concern. Some time ago, I was in Viewfort by Digicel. I was stuck there for about 2 minutes, and a ticket was issued to me. Now, I went home. I did not go and pay the ticket right away. But the officers from the Mico police station, they came to my home very early when I still had my nightie. I just woke up. They came to my home and they demanded money from me. I told them, okay, officer, give me up to 9 o'clock. The credit union will be open. I'll go to the credit union and withdraw the money. They said, no, they're going to take me to Bodily. Yes. There were 2 officers, one a corporal and another. And they said that they are taking me to Bodily. It's a good thing. God blessed us. My daughter had $400 to do something to go to the doctor. So she went inside and she took the $400, and I had to give the police officer the $400. A receipt was not issued to me. Because I asked them if they have a receipt book. They said no. And a receipt was not issued to me. Up to now, the receipt has not been issued to me because I can say that I have not gone to the police station to see if they will give me that receipt for $400. But they insist that they are taking me to Bodily, and I was a past civil servant. I will not go to Bodily for a traffic ticket. And I felt very offended because I had my nightie and they came twice. The first time they came, they went to my daughter's apartment downstairs and my daughter was in her nightie. And then next time, which was last week, they came to me. I was in my nightie, a clear nightie only because they calling me. I had to come out and they were demanding the money from me. I asked them to permit me to give me up to 9 o'clock when the credit union opens. I will take the money and I'll bring the money. I said I had to go to town, but I'm not going. I'll go and withdraw the money and take it to the police station. But they said, no, they're taking me to Bodily.
Okay.
And I felt very offended.
Let's get a reaction. This doesn't sound normal.
No, it doesn't.
No?
No.
But anyway, go ahead.
Caller, I will say one thing. According to the regulations, when you are issued a ticket, you have 14 days.
When I am what?
When you are issued a ticket.
Yes.
Okay, when you receive a ticket, either personally or a ticket was left on your vehicle by a police officer, you have up to 14 days to make payment either at the First District Court in Castries if you were given the ticket up in the north, or in the Second District Court if you were given a ticket in the south.
Yeah.
If you wish to contest that ticket, you must inform the district court office of your intention to challenge the ticket, and then they will make the relevant arrangements to have the officer present for cross-examination. No police officer is supposed to come to your house to ask money for any ticket.
Yeah, because what happened, I called the Miko police and they asked me to talk to the person in Vieux-Fort.
Okay.
I spoke to the person in Vieux-Fort and I said, I'm coming, I am trying to get a small loan from the credit union, I'm coming to pay.
What?
He gave me the okay to come. Okay? And then the other officers at the police station were coming, visiting me very early in the morning.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Yeah,
What I may suspect may have happened in this matter is that that person was issued a ticket, they did not pay the ticket, they did not go to court, and a warrant was issued in their name for the ticket. So the matter was heard ex parte and they were convicted on the ticket.
Yeah.
Now, when you are convicted ex parte on a ticket, a warrant is issued for you, and the amount that you, so if you were issued a ticket for $200, it now becomes $400, and the persons executing the warrant are obliged by the law to execute the warrant. Now, unfortunately for her, that's what it seems, that she did not have the money to pay the ticket warrant. But I mean, at the same time, the police have a duty to fulfill, so they have to enforce the warrant.
But she said it happens after the following morning, which I find
it may be strange.
Maybe strange.
Let's take a call. Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Hey.
Yes, good night.
Hello. Hello. Good evening to you, caller. Go ahead, please.
Hey, team. Hey, team. Hi. How are you?
Okay.
Before I start, I just wanted to get the officer's name, the one without the glasses.
Okay, that's of acting Corporal Lancico.
Corporal Lancico.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so I just want to clarify something with the program. I honestly believe sometimes those officers actually are just ticket hungry. Just want to just penalize people for no reason sometimes. No, because I got a ticket a couple of weeks ago, and basically, I'm not saying the officers do a good job. I'm not saying. Sometimes I just think sometimes they need to be a little more sympathetic, or sometimes to be a little more rational and reasonable with people. Because for one, I got stopped for tickets already, Tim. And I came across officers that will stop me and they will tell you, good evening, good day, sir, my name is officer this and that and that. Do you know why I stopped you, and this and kind of thing. I didn't get anything from that particular officer, which is Officer Lancico. Right? And I found out kind of rude because the way he approached me and the way he dealt with me on that day was unprofessional. And the way he dealt with me, I just think it basically was an abuse of power. In all honesty, right? I got a charge for an offense as per him. Now,
what offense did I report?
What was the offense?
I won't say it there because I'm gonna contest the ticket. Yeah. I'm gonna contest it.
Right.
Now, the thing about it is, I spoke to another officer, and he told me that I shouldn't have gotten the ticket. I spoke to two lawyers, and they told me the same thing. And I did my research, and I went and checked out the traffic laws and the Traffic Act under Section 85, and it still doesn't warrant certain things of me getting the ticket. So I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I applaud the officers for doing the job. Don't get me wrong, but you see, there's some discrepancy with the public, because sometimes, right now, my attitude towards the police has changed a little bit, because I'm saying sometimes you try to abide by the law, and then you get yourself on the wrong side of the law. Because as I know, Parliament makes the law, police officers enforce the law, and we, the citizens of the country, are supposed to abide by the law. Right? So, in all honesty, I just want to give them the props. 'Cause like I said, they did a good job. I know they under strain, under pressure. I don't know if that day was a personal issue or anything of that sort. But
caller, you reserve the right to challenge the ticket.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yes, I mean, you shouldn't be aggrieved that you were charged. If you believe that you were wrongfully charged or you have a case, you simply, like I said, after 14 days, you go to the court office and you inform them that it's your intention to challenge the ticket at court. And then they will summons the officer to court and then you can cross-examine
this driver. It was a situation where we were doing a traffic check and we stopped the driver for failing to produce driver's license. The same thing, upon request. I mean, some persons may be disgruntled when they receive a ticket. Rightly so. You may be aggrieved, I agree with that, but it's your right to contest the ticket.
You have a right
if you believe that the police were not warranted in issuing that ticket, it is your right.
Well, I'm not saying, like I said, I called just to get your name because most likely I want to contest the ticket.
But his name is on the ticket caller.
No, but I wasn't the one who issued the ticket.
Okay.
I wasn't the one.
But in all honesty, like I said, I'm just saying because that aspect, that alone, just made me look at things from a different perspective. Because sometimes you see you trying to abide by the law and then you try and do things right. Like the caller previously, like about 2 callers previously were saying about the ticket issue and she had to go to down one and all that kind of thing. I'm just saying. The officers, like I told you, I went through a lot of traffic stops already, and I've gotten officers that had a better approach. Like I told you, I didn't even know his name. I didn't even know his number.
But caller, am I the one who issued you the ticket, or was it another officer who issued you the ticket?
It was you, sir.
I did not issue any ticket, sir. I did not issue any ticket.
But
well, you actually stopped me and then you give me the offense and you call the other guy to give me the ticket. But no,
exactly, so I wasn't the one who reported you.
All right, okay, no problem. Like I said, I'll take your advice. I'll contest the ticket.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it was a situation.
Thank you so much for calling.
I think it was a situation we were conducting a traffic check. And in conducting the traffic check, you may have situations where other persons are engaged. Now, I noticing that the driver may be coming. I may say, you know what, let's stop that driver and check his documentation. So I may have stopped the driver, pull him over, and then instructed another officer to interact with him. Now, based on the interaction you may have had with the officer, I may have intervened and probably spoken to him and give the officer instructions to charge him for the offense. That's what maybe have happened.
Let's have another call. Good evening. Thanks for holding on. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening, team.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
And good evening to the police officer.
Good night, caller.
I just want to congratulate them for a good job, but like a few previous callers have said, a few of them are very aggressive, and I guess they need to just change that. But I have a few questions to ask. It's about 5 of them, but the most important ones, yeah. One of my concerns as a citizen, we have the disabled, like the signs for the disabled people, in terms of on the streets. What's about enforcing it in places like Macy's store and those places that have the signs there? Because I remember the last time there was an accident, Sunny Acres, in that area, in that mall area itself, and the police came and assist and stuff like that. Because there are certain people that actually just park there. And some people, elderly people are disabled, they would park very far and would have to walk. That's one of the things of my concern, and I think you're supposed to, I think, bring it to the drawing board, to the police to see what they all could do. I have another thing too, because, I mean, you all want to make money too. You all want to charge drivers for the seat belts and stuff like that. What about jaywalking?
Legislation driver.
Yeah, but I mean, there's places like Shock and by
I think there's a law against jaywalking.
By how you call it? By BZ. If you all want to make money, trust me, you're making more money than charging drivers for seat belts, because you know the amount of people that risk their life just running across the roads, those places.
Some have even got people.
And another concern, the dual carriage going up to Shock. On which side? I mean, we drive on the left, but on which side is the left? The center or the left? In terms of closer to the hotel.
Caller, the road is divided into two. What divides the road is the median barrier. Okay.
Now I'm talking about Shock. Going up the hill.
Oh, going up the hill. Sorry, I thought.
Because I remember the last time an officer tell me the center one. Since we drive into the left, the center one is the rightful one, and not the one on the outer side.
No, well, you can use either lane, but the outer one is mainly reserved for slow-moving vehicles.
Okay.
Long trucks with pulling a lorry or container, and the center one is basically for faster-moving vehicles.
Okay.
But when you get to the top now, the left lane has to merge into the right lane because of how the road is constructed. Okay, you cannot continue left; you must merge right. So the center lane has the right of way, and the persons on the left are the ones who has to merge into the inner lane, into the right lane.
All right. What y'all still do have the police inside?
The police.
The show. Police inside.
The show.
I'm not sure.
Because I mean, it's very nice y'all coming on the air now, and like to me, if y'all come on the air a little more and tell people about their rights and what they do on the street, to me, people would take more caution on the road and see, like the officers say, tint in your whole windscreen and say, if you all come and say that more, when people issue that ticket, they shouldn't have a problem because you're always on the air. Just like UCLEC would tell you, don't interfere with this. They're always on the air, like with an advertisement telling you. But even though you all don't come directly on the show, but at least you all should have a few advertisements saying a few things.
Public service announcements.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But just one more. The Grizzly drivers, I mean, to me, there have times I've seen one bike, police bike is going up. But to me, you're supposed to pay more concern about, especially the minibus drivers from Castries to Grizzly. Those guys don't actually go on the bus stop.
Okay.
What they do, if there's a long line, say like about 8 o'clock or about 3:30 in the afternoon, they know sometimes traffic is very heavy. What those guys do, they put half of their vehicle on the road. Now, you get people that is really scared. I have seen it because I do taxi and I am on the road every day, almost every day. Some people would actually stay behind those minibus and make them offload or load and stuff like that, and they would move forward like it's they alone. It's on the road. Now, I know, I mean, it wouldn't take one officer to check on every bus and stuff like that, but to me, what I am seeing there, some of those minibus drivers should be charged, and I think the officers will see it. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. That practice certainly could cause accidents.
Yeah. What the caller brought to my remembrance, I remember some time ago there was some minibus drivers on television stating that there's a law which states that because it's a minibus and you have passengers on board, persons on the road supposed to allow you the right of way. That is categorically incorrect. There is no such law. The law actually says that if you are stationary at bus stop or whatnot and you're going to move into traffic, whoever is on the main road has the right of way. And the guys who
you must indicate,
you must indicate right, and then you must, before you move onto the road, you must ensure that the road is clear before
proceeding. We take our final call. Good evening, go ahead please.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening to you, caller.
All right, good evening to the officers, Lanchico and Chico, I believe.
Yes, good night, sir.
I joined the show late. I'm not too sure if anybody mentioned this. In terms of the number of accidents on our streets, what do the officers have in place? I would probably make a suggestion in that, saying licensing should be reduced. Have a way that you take off points of your license, and the amount of accidents you have, your license should be suspended.
Yes, we spoke about that.
I'm not too sure if anyone has mentioned that, but I think the officers should look into this.
Yes.
We touched on that particular issue. We touched on it. Okay, but for his edification, maybe we could just make reference to it again. Thank you so much for calling, sir. That was our last caller. Want to make reference to it?
Yeah, we spoke about the demerit system, and it does exist in the legislation, but it's not enacted. And we need some, there's a lot of laws and procedures that need to be enacted to assist the traffic department in doing their job.
Let's take in the final comments. Let's start with you, Constable Chico. Final comments.
Well, my final comments is a plea to drivers. We must try our best as drivers to use the road, abide by the road signs, the traffic laws, because you must understand that our actions on the road affect other persons. It can affect ourselves, our passengers, drivers of other vehicles, as we see the loss of life, damage, and injury caused to persons as a result of accidents. So my appeal is just for us to use our roads to the best of our ability.
Corporal Lansico?
I'd like to encourage drivers to continue to wear their seatbelt. riders wear their protective headgear, drive safely on the roads, and make the roads safer for all St. Lucians. The life you may save may very well be your own or a loved one.
Corporal Lansigo, thank you so much for being my guest, as well as Constable Chico. Thank you as always for watching the broadcast and contributing via your calls. If it's Wednesday, it's Newsmaker Live. Time now for the clip that peaked.
Vai no impulso. Chama. Vai.
Levanta do moço, não vai não. Esse dia eu tô meio tombo, rapaz. O meu canal de montar, pô, bati com o joelho não. Vai, vou ajudar aqui pra você não voltar.
Dá uma dedada, né? Ih, vai, foi.
Vai, foi. É você. Meu cavalo saiu do lugar daí, ó, do morro.
Ele já tá com freio de mão puxado aí, ó. Fica.
Caralho.
Once again, that's the broadcast. Thank you so much for watching us. A very good evening. My name is Timothy Polion saying good night and see you next time.